Hello everyone, it's Melanie. Today is February 27th and I am here with the final flip through of my February fabric junk journal challenge journal. So I was going to flip through it, show you my items, and this will be my submission video for the challenge. So here's my journal. The challenge was to use a lot of fabric in the journal, and there were 15 fabric functions that Julie wanted us to use. And I'll link to some of her videos regarding the challenge itself down in the description below. But there were 15 fabric functions that we needed to cover in this fabric journal. And then there were also some guidelines about what we could use, how many pieces of each kind of paper in each signature and things like that. And I've done my best to comply with all the guidelines, so we'll get to it. So the first fabric function item is a fabric cover, and I used an old quilt for the cover of my journal. I have some other videos on this journal, and I'll link to those also down in the description below, but there's more information on this cover and how I prepared it. So that was my first one. The next one is 2 different fabric pockets or tucks. So I guess I'll just kind of go through and show you some of my functions, and then I'll do a quick little flip through of the entire thing. So there are a number of fabric pockets in here, but they're 2, say, different kind. I did some using little vintage quilt blocks. There's one there. Let's see. Here's one back here. It's an actual quilt block. And then the other type I did was I sewed fabric directly onto my cover, and I made a pin pocket. So that's my second type of fabric pocket. I'm going to skip around a little bit. I'll use this pin. There's my fabric cover, fabric pockets, 1 fabric flip. So my fabric flip is right here. And this is a piece of a dresser scarf or a table scarf or something that was badly damaged that I was able to cut up, and I just stitched it across the top of the page. So now you've got a little flip up to reveal what's underneath. So that's my fabric flip. At least 2 fabric edges, and I have a number of fabric edges in this book. This one is the same fabric that I used here on the inside, and it's just folded over the edge of the page and stitched down. And then I have ruffle, a fabric ruffle here. Here I used another little vintage quilt block and stitched it to the edge. Here's another. This is actually a piece of the edge of an old quilt, really tattered old quilt that I stitched down to use as a tab. So there's a number of different fabric edges throughout here, but we needed at least 2. So there's my fabric edges. 4 different, oh, let me keep going on here. 1 fabric page. So for my fabric page, I used another piece of vintage linen, and it's this this little piece of embroidered or cross-stitched. It's probably a table linen also, but I pressed it and starched it really well, and it's in here as a little fabric page. And I love how with the starch and stuff, it really lies nicely in the book and whatnot. So that's my fabric page. So back up to fabric tags. I made a number of tags, but we needed at least 4 fabric tags. So I did quite a few, but I'll show you 4 that will count as the 4 that I'm going to put in my journal. This one I used just a manila folder, and I cut the tag shape like this with a fold at the bottom of the tag, and then I stitched the fabric to the inside. This is a little patchwork of fabric that I stitched on the machine, and then cut out a little window out of one piece of the half the tag, stitched the fabric in on this side, and then closed it up and stitched around the outside edge. So there's this one, and it has a smooth back on it. So I can add that in somewhere. There's one. Another one, this is a printout of a digital that I did for my Etsy shop that has a variety of different vintage patchwork fabrics, and I just stitched a heart onto it. So there's this one. Put it in there. That's 2. This one is just a little fabric collage, and I did it the same with the same type of tag this way, so that I stitched everything, stitched all the fabric onto the front, just kind of freehand, and then I folded the card in half and stitched it closed so that it's smooth on the back instead of, and you could do the same thing with just 2 pieces, but I just love the idea of it just folding right up, and I don't have to match anything or make sure that everything is aligned. So that's 3. And then this one is probably my favorite. I started by doing one like this. This is the first one that I did, and I just laid an entire piece of fabric over the tag and stitched around the edges, and then I cut out the middle of the tag. So this one is on the straight of grain of the fabric, but then I thought, oh, I could do the bias. So I put the fabric on a 45-degree angle on the bias and cut a rectangle of fabric to fit the tag, and then stitched around the outside edge, and then went back and cut out the inside. And then it got really nicely, because it's on the bias, it got really nicely ruffled. And this is probably my favorite tag. So let's see, is that 5? I think that's 5. So that's my 5. Oh, I only needed 4, at least 4. So that's my fabric tags. And then I have some others that I played with here, because we could do more than what it said here, but we had to do at least as many. So there's those. The last thing was 4 different fabric embellishments. So for my different fabric embellishments, this is my first one. And this became the closure. And it's just scraps of vintage quilt that I kind of hand stitched together and then stitched on to the front of my journal. And I used a snap and a button to finish out this closure. And so that's how my book closes up. So that's my first fabric embellishment. My second fabric embellishment, I did another kind of flowery thing. I love putting these ribbon on here that make it look sort of like a ribbon, you know, like a reward of some kind. So that's my second one, a different kind. This one's the closure. There's a different one. And then I have this giant paper clip, which is one of my embellishment items. And I stitched some, or I ripped some fabric into strips and then attached them just to the top of this giant paper clip. And you can either use it kind of flip down this way so that it's like that, or leave it up, use it in the book. So that's number 3. And then number 4, let's see, a different kind of, I experimented with some different ways of doing fabric flowers, little on paper clips. So these are sewn onto paper clips flowers on paper clips. So this will be my fourth one. And I'll just attach this in. So some of the other elements that we could use for our journal were things like 5 die cuts. And I used my die cuts. I chose some of the Tim Holtz botanical die cuts. And I used one here, and then I combined some with some of my other elements, like these are cards. We could use 5 assorted cards. So I used 4 index cards and 1 card that I made out of my digital printable. So the four index cards, these are large 5x8 index cards that I had coffee dyed. I think it goes like that. And I cut them in half and attached the little die cuts to the top. So there's the 4 pieces of those. And then I also used one of those 5x8 cards and I cut it in half and stitched it in as a pocket. And then I used the other half of it somewhere else. And then I made this out of just printed cardstock, so I'm considering it a card, like a greeting card, and it's going to go somewhere in my book also. So I have all of these little cards. I'll put them in a bit. And then I made this one out of just a single little index card, and it fits in this cute little pocket. So there's my 5 assorted cards. Then we could use 5 Project Life or ATC cards. So I have a whole bunch of Project Life cards that I had sewn fabric onto in different ways, ruffles and down the sides and layered up the top. And so there's a variety of these that I have, and here are 5 that I'm going to use in my journal. Oh, I have 5 postcards. There's one of them. So let me do just a regular old flip. Here's the journal. This plastic on the front is from the actual 5 pieces of assorted packaging that we could use. This is the plastic cover off of a 12x12 album that my mom was throwing away. So I cut a piece of it and put a window in here. I love putting a little window on my front page so that you could use it as a title page. And it kind of takes the pressure off of messing up that first page when you can just put a tag in there and make it whatever you want it to be. So there's my first page. And I used a variety of book pages and copy paper throughout, different types of lined paper, envelopes. I did use a couple of bags. I think they counted in my envelopes. I don't remember exactly where. I love the sound of these paper bags. And I do also have, here's some other pieces of my printable that I did for Etsy, and these fit kind of cute in these paper bags. So I like those in there. Just slide in. We could use 5 playing cards, and we could use 5 different types of washi. And I picked 5 types of washi, but I didn't really know what to do with it because I don't usually decorate a journal down to the washi level. I kind of would prefer to do that once I'm using the journal, but these are the 5 that I chose, and I did just put some pieces of them here and there since I could use them. There's another just piece of washi. Here's my fabric flip. So this journal has 3 signatures, and I can't remember how many pages. It's quite a few pages. There's just a little collage of, but I just wanted to show you how you could, oh, this would work there. Will it? Oh yes, I cut this to go in here. So that will fit. That will fit in there. There we go. It has quite a few pages, so, oh, there's another one of the die cuts. That's the 5th die cut. My postcards, more pockets for more journaling cards. I like these half envelopes. More plain, one of the 5 playing cards. There's some more of that washi tape. But I just wasn't sure where to put it, so I just like taped it onto some pages. More envelopes. And these aren't part of the challenge. I was just showing you where all the little tucks and envelopes and spots to put things are. And I love these printables with this patchwork fabric journal. I think it's really cute together. And I'll put a link to my Etsy shop down below where you can find these patchwork printables. Little pockets. So that's my journal, guys. I like my pen pocket there, and it all just folds, you know, clips up nicely. Take it with you. You've got your pen there, everything you need. So thanks again to Julie for hosting this challenge. I enjoyed doing it, and I can't wait for the next one. So if you like this video, guys, give me a thumbs up below, subscribe. I'm going to try to make more videos, and check out Julie's challenge if you haven't already. Thanks, guys. Bye.